In line up with good conversation and good fellowship, I'd also like to introduce you to Philip Larragee. He's the CEO of Release, and Release works with prisoners and ex-prisoners in the community, and he's going to give you a brief overview of the mission of Release. Philip?
Too high for me. I'm a little fella. Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Sean. Lovely introduction and fantastic work we do. Just the spirit in this place is amazing. We just love to come here and have coffee and hang out, and it's really fantastic. So as Terry Lynn says, I'm Philip Larragee. Most of you know me anyway, so some of you will get to know me, I'm sure. So again, just to welcome, and it's a great pleasure to welcome our Plan B partners, our guest speaker, Austin Tracy, who will be speaking over coffee, members of the Prisoner Support Network who are here, some who are going to speak, Governor Donncha Walsh from Mountjoy, who will also give us a few words later, and the rest of you, our friends and supporters. You're all really very welcome. So tonight's meeting has a number of objectives. The first is just a get-together of what I call the Prisoner Support Network. So across Dublin, for those who don't know, there are a lot of organisations, voluntary and some semi-statutory and even some statutory, who get together once in a while to compare notes and try and work together. The tragedy is we haven't met for about 4 years. It's been really awful. So I really feel that this is a great night to kick-start the Prisoner Support Network and get us meeting 4 times a year again and learning from each other how things work. The key reason, of course, is to welcome our European friends from Plan B project and to give them an opportunity to learn firsthand from some of you what happens in Prisoner Support Network organisations and in prisons and in other areas, academic and so on. It's also a great opportunity for us to learn from them what happens in Portugal, Italy and Turkey. And today I learned a lot about what's happening in those countries, especially what's happening in Italy. And in a minute, when I finish talking, Anna Marie will give you some of that background. And finally, as I said, it's an opportunity to hear from Austin, who Austin has some revolutionary ideas and has managed some great projects in Northern Ireland in the prison service. So we'd love to hear a little of some of those from Austin, and you're very welcome tonight. So very briefly, you've probably heard it all already. Release is involved and has been involved in supporting prisoners who become ex-offenders through in-reach education, mentoring and reintegration programs. And we do this chiefly through 2, if you like, in-reach courses. The first one is Cornerstone Communication Skills course, and we're about to relaunch that in Cork Prison, and we have a very active team down there working on that to bring that into Cork Prison, essentially to help prisoners to build up resilience and confidence when they're faced with all the stresses of reintegration and even meeting governors to discuss P19s. We reckon we can help them all to get their P19s halved. So Donncha knows exactly what I'm talking about there. The other project is the Sycamore Tree. Now that's a restorative justice project that increases prisoners' awareness of how crime harms victims, what is needed to make amends, and how to become the peacemakers of the future. So one of the outputs of our group work is the creation of mentoring relationships between the prisoners we meet when we go into the prison, between our volunteers and our learners. And those mentoring relationships, they move beyond the time in prison. And I have guys that I've been involved with for 10 years now, and some of them have been out of prison for 9 years, so it's that long, it's that exciting. So I don't talk too much about Release. You can learn about us from our website, and there'll be a handout at the door when you're finished. Just struck me the other day, I was working with, because I've been working with service users over the last 10 years, and it struck me that there seems actually to be adequate resources out there in the community between all what we're doing, the prison service, the probation service, but yet we're not turning this into employment and reintegration opportunities, and I began to wonder why. It became kind of clear to me during the week when I visited, like last week actually, when I visited Frontline Bikes. You all of you know who Frontline Bikes is? Is there anybody here from Frontline Bikes tonight? What a pity. Okay, but we'll tell you. What? I was unwell. So apologies for Stuart Fraser. He was going to tell us about Frontline. We might get an opportunity to tell you later. So Anyway, I brought a man in there who's coming from significant disadvantage. His parents died when he was, one parent died from an assassination, a shooting, a murder. The other died from suicide, which he witnessed. He grew up in a drug-complicated family, coming from terrible disadvantage with alcohol and drug addiction. And he spent a lot of his time in prison and in crime supporting his own addictions. And he left prison in 2016. In fact, I can't remember, maybe it was Dunnach who introduced me to him. But anyway, he's had deep trauma and he's had a very difficult past. And this has led recently to relapse. And he's back, in fact, worse than ever before in terms of addiction. And what I discovered when we brought him to Frontline to talk about how they might be able to help, and we were doing an assessment there, was that right now he has 2 mentors, 3 key workers, he has multiple applications with 4 rehabs, and he has 2 prescribing doctors. So far this year, he's been in 4 different accommodations and lost 2 jobs. He's living in what he describes as a crack den, and he's stealing to finance his habit. He's been arrested 3 times this year and was seriously injured in a knife attack on a street fight over drugs. Now, many great people are helping, as you can see. All those people are involved, but each is limited by the constraints of the mission of their own organization and have not managed the interaction or the joined-up thinking that is required to get this guy over the line and back into the community. By the way, he was working really hard and really well, and as a great worker and not an unintelligent person. So I just instanced that because the problem is not a lack of resources. The problem is a lack of joined up communication. And that's why I'm passionate about getting the Prisoner Support Network again, so that we can all actually work better together to produce more with the same resources. So I hope that through Plan B project, we'll find better ways to support service users through more holistic problems with caseworkers who have actually more time to work with less people more productively. So thank you all very much for listening to me tonight. I know I've gone a bit, but I thought it would be useful to hear that. So please enjoy the contribution of our visitors tonight. Please share your knowledge and experience with each other, and please have a great night.
And before we